people, and welcome back to part 28 of Egginburgh, our modded CS2 build. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And of course, after last week's wonderful mod showcase, we now have the quite delicious world of extra landscaping tools and extra detailing tools to play with. The two mods come together to really change up the game, as hopefully you've seen in that mod showcase. And to help continue celebrating the wonderful mods that have arrived onto the scene today, I'd like to attempt an industrial build, which isn't really the way we play CS2, because as I've made myself made my thoughts known, I think the base industries of farming, forestry, mining, and oil in the vanilla game are pretty terrible, especially forestry, which is what we'll do today. So over here, give some context as to where we are. We're right on the edge of the farming fields near the interchange we built on a live stream. Bourbon is over here, Inverness over there, of course, and lower and upper whiskey occupies this whole space up this way. So we're over here in the valley. And I think this hillside that is currently plastered in trees, thankfully the snow is beginning to recede. But this whole hillside I think is ripe for a forestry build, and now we have the mods. We should be able to make it look pretty good. So we've got this road here. I think I'm just going to run this, probably turn this into a highway road at some point actually, a little bit more high speed. Yeah, I just want to meander this down onto the national road. We'll give this a roundabout as well, because it's probably going to be a busier junction if we're going to get industrial vehicles importing and exporting from this new area today. And we'll also do some hot lane maths as well, feeding in some asymmetry into the roundabout just to add those extra lanes. Do the same thing there as well. Cool. So that should give them another way into the town if they want. But a massive, there was one actually, I tweeted a picture of this. There's another one over there as well. What's going on with the car crashes? You guys alright? Sorry to get distracted for a hot second here, but there has been a major crash. Oh god, he's landed on top of it. Goodness gracious. What a crash. At least the road maintenance vehicles are here though. So yeah, there is a bit of a traffic jam on the motorway out of Whiskey at the minute, but that's okay. They will clear it up. So yeah, let's get started. So I reckon we're going to keep this a pretty simple facility, but hopefully highly detailed using all the new stuff available. Let's grab ourselves a dirt road. We'll use this as our entrance. Actually, tell you what I wouldn't mind doing is let's do a regular road. How much room are we giving ourselves here? Yeah, this should be okay. And then we'll kind of downgrade into a dirt, like you're kind of coming up into the forestry area here. A little bit of node controller would be wonderful to help blend that in, but I'm sure we can make do with some of the mods that we've got. Cool, so let's turn on our topography. And we are pretty steep here, but we should be okay. We'll do some terraforming to allow some platforms to develop for us. So let's bring out this dirt road, and we'll say wherever this dirt road lands here, this is where we'll kind of have our processing center for the forestry. All this here is level it out. And I actually think I'll probably end up deforesting this as well, just so we can see what we're doing, because it's a little bit kind of wild at the minute, isn't it? Let's just take away these trees. Obviously we will add them back with this being a forestry build. You would anticipate that there's trees here. Hopefully that snow isn't too far away from leaving as well. I absolutely hate it here. Of course, the only bit of the city I want to build in is the only one that's covered in snow. So we'll arrive here. Let's draw out some very basic frames. So there's some really cool kind of forestry props and buildings in Find It that we can get access to now. So I would like to explore some of those today. So first of all, let's come into Find It, and we'll filter for industry buildings, and let's just go ahead and do a very general blanket search for forestry. So the main thing that comes up is storage units. So these are just going to store our logs. So they're all of varying different sizes, I think, just for the larger scale here today. I'm probably going to prefer the 6x6s. So this is just forestry, right? It's going to store logs for us and other related forestry products that the industries need. Now there's not too many actual buildings, which is a bit of a shame, so I'd definitely like to be able to find some of those. So let's remove the forestry search, and then let's just have a little explore through here. So I'd like some warehouses here. Why don't we have a little bit of a manufacturing building next to our store yard here? Let's start surrounding these assets with some further words. Start creating some kind of smaller processing yards that can, well, process the wood that is brought down from the plots we'll build up in a second here. But this one here looks pretty forestry related, doesn't it? Almost like kind of a sawmill sort of building. Cool. So we do have plot the growables on. People will move into these. Important that you do play with that mod as well if you want to place buildings like I am here today. Cool, so I reckon where we've got this building here, let's just create a little bit of a processing yard behind him. So we can fill this with props, and I guess we'll kind of take a look at this process and we can leave a lot of it to the detailing. So this building unfortunately does come with its own texture. It's got that one of the concrete ones on the bottom of it, which I really don't want. So using the Better Bulldozer mod, I'm going to select the remove surfaces and spaces. Now I can simply just remove that concrete texture from the bottom. I might want to do it here as well, but I think that loading bay is kind of appropriate there, isn't it? So I think we'll leave that in. So now we have this, so let's come into this wonderful new menu and we'll dig out some surfaces. So Sully created some really nice surfaces that we can use here. There's riverbeds and just lots of texture, which as I mentioned in the mod review is one of the biggest things CS2 is missing. So let's just draw in this riverbed thick texture right beneath our building. That should hopefully give it a bit more of an authentic forestry look. Don't mind that at all. And then let's go ahead and search for, I believe it's wood stack, isn't it? I think that's what I'm after here. Unfiltered for buildings. This is definitely a prop, of course. Yeah, here we go. So we have wood stack number 4. Let's take this off of a brush. And now we can just pretend that there's a whole bunch of storage at the back here using various different stacks. Of course, you can keep it on random if you want to variate them up. I think there's kind of slight height differences between the various different ones. Now, of course, with this, we can get into the realm of some pretty nifty prop detailing around that industry. Which for me is what proper forestry is, right? You want to see these kind of processed plain timber stacks, forklifts, little warehouses, log yards, etc. But we will still use the base game industry. We'll have that there, right? Now, there's also, if we search for log, again, you can kind of use this thought process for a lot of things. Just searching kind of similar words will really help you find props that are useful for you, first of all. So log, for example, is another really good one for a forestry build. And not only for logs, which of course will appear in here as they're stored, but we can also use them to prop detail. You know, maybe we have another yard here of where this stuff is waiting to be processed. I mean, maybe we can have some logs just residing here waiting to be moved around into a different part of the site, right? So the world, and really the game of CS2, just totally changes, especially with extra detail tools and Find It. Massively different game, isn't it? So there we go, right? We can have some little yards over here. Coming back to my point in Find It of searching for logs. We also have log trailers as well, where we will definitely create a little loading yard, maybe outside. Well, maybe we need to create a little separate area for them. Maybe over here, you know, we can have some log trailers that are lined up, ready to load up with logs and then disperse across the city. And then we've also got log loaders as well, which is very cool because now we can have, you know, sort of a purposeful bit of detail in here where this log loader is attempting to do exactly that, load some logs. And then all these wonderful little props that have been developed in the base game are now available to decorate out. So you can see with a little bit of creativity, and of course we'll expand this in our detailing time-lapse today, but just how much more interesting it can be, right? So I wouldn't mind a couple more larger buildings around here before we start work on the actual kind of forestry plantations themselves. So let's come into some more industrial processing. So I'd also like a fair amount of these log yards, so let's get these placed while we remember to, although that one is overlapping a touch there with move it, isn't it? Let's just correct that. And we'll have that one over there as well. So this will just give us these, that's it. You know, very much kind of think of this like, for those familiar with it anyway, kind of playing with Cities 1 Industries DLC, place your log yards, your processing and production buildings. And you'll start seeing it in a whole different way, I hope, anyway. Cool. So once the city actually begins to produce logs, we should start seeing these pile up with log storage, which we can then detail around with extra processing. of things creating plain timber, which are then loaded onto trucks to then leave the forestry area itself. So we can see how this will develop, right? So we'll leave those there. Now let's head up onto the hillside, where I would like to just blend in a little bit of that terraforming we did earlier, just so it's not as obvious. That should do us. Cool. So now let's head... Where do we want to build this? Let's have a little look here. Rather than on the hillside, I'm thinking just kind of looking at the little forestry site here on the hill. Like to kind of see these plantations on the hillside just above the processing center, I think. So I reckon that's what we'll go for. So I suppose they can really come from anywhere. I'm not massively precious about it. Let's turn off our special bulldozer. And then let's just go from this one. Let's go up the hill. Now, I don't know how much we're going to have to flatten here. I suppose we'll just wait and see. But let's draw out a little road. And then we will actually come and grab that specialized forestry. I want the forestry here. And we can place this down. Now, of course, it's going to give us that kind of node drawing functionality now, which is what I actually want. So let's do... We can't really measure this, can we? Why don't we roughly estimate it? So we'll go something like that. Cool. So that should probably do as a thing. I definitely would like to just soften this out as well. Don't want that awkward lip against the back of the building there. And then just re-soften it ourselves, just so we end up with something a bit more workable. Cool. And then pretty much want to make sure that every tree is gone from this actually. Which is a bit counterintuitive, I realise, to build in a forestry area, but we'll see what it's for in a second. So yeah, everything can go, of course, which will say like, well, there's nothing for us to harvest here now. But this is where the old faithful prop line tool is going to come in handy. So think of all the trees we have available to us in CS2, the most likely to be farmed is probably going to be the coniferous spruce, isn't it? Because there's a lot of forestry up near where I live, near the Lake District, and it's usually always kind of evergreen conifers that are farmed. So with the line tool, we want these to have a sensible spacing. Let's go for 9 meters, I reckon. And then very, very obvious rows of planted trees here that are due to be cut down. You want it to look pretty unnatural. There's always a bit of a kick-off locally from me. A lot of the local residents don't like these conifer plantations. They're not native species, and they do look pretty jarring as well, to be fair to them. You can really spot them. They stand out like a sore thumb in kind of the countryside when you're looking at them against, especially when they're near a natural forest too. It's just like, oh yeah, you can tell they have been planted for timber. But, you know, timber is a resource of our civilization, isn't it? So I suppose we can't complain too much. But with that said, we can now create little mock forestry plantations, right? Which hopefully should have some people coming up here as well to import and export logs. We do have a company in here now. Carporco is here. They are working at 93% efficiency. I wonder if that's because I've missed that one row there. I'm actually quite interested to see if that is the case. Let me just fill in an extra row here and see if that percentile rises. That actually came down, which I'm not sure makes an awful lot of sense, but I suppose that's okay. I think I can get away with it. Yeah, they actually lost some employees with that extra row. Okay, that's fine then, whatever. As long as there's a business here, that's all we care about. And then let's throw in some fencing, shall we? So let's come into our net lanes, where we have net fences. The most appropriate for a forestry area, got to be something made out of wood, hasn't it? That industrial low fence might work quite nicely. Just something to kind of demarcate the forest boundary here. Looks like it's just going to snap to the edge of the district anyway, is it? But we can still get use out of that base game forestry asset. So of course actually trick the production economy into thinking that we are making, you know, proper forestry. But with the extra embellishments of line tools and the network fencing and ploppable assets and props and other sorts of decals, it all becomes a little bit more spicy, doesn't it? I think we'll set up a few of these across the hillside during our detailing time, not to think. So the concept is there. Let's go ahead now and flesh out lots more plantations across the hillside. And we can just basically repeat this pattern around the edges here. And then we'll work on detailing up our central processing area. Maybe bring in one more larger building. And then lots of textures, props, and spices and fences. Finally, in CS2. And then we'll be right back. Okay guys, let's have a little detailing review, shall we? So our great little forestry area sits quite tastefully on top of the hill here by the interchange. And I reworked the power line here as well so the trees kind of match it as it flows against the networks, and really love seeing that power infrastructure come in. Super cool, isn't it? And then we've also got a rural power pole running up into the facility here as well, which is where we'll approach. So we're coming here, there's a little collection of outbuildings on the left here as we walk up. Someone's walking up to work here. And the first thing we really notice as we come up here is just the texture, isn't it? What a world of difference that's making. It just looks like it's worked land, like it's rougher, like it has things happening to it, which just makes the world of difference. Then we come into a silo, and then we also have a car park here again, using Sully's stunning decals. Like, look at that. That's so nice, isn't it? Just what a difference that makes, you know, just having those custom decals. And then we arrive into some log storage and then general prop work in and around processing centers for the forestry. And it's really quite fun to play with the processing like this. I'm not sure what's going on here. There we go, now they seem to be moving. But yes, lots of general prop work around here with some trailers and tractors moving things around with more log storage over here too. And then we span off here into the tree plantations, which what I really love about this kind of inch now, like, I can appreciate the functionality of CS2's industry now it has mods, because we never had this in CS1, you know? Seeing the machinery coming up and harvest the resource, leaving a little stump behind, for it to eventually regrow. It was just all the rest of it that was missing. So to have this functionality now in our industry is very exciting, and lots of possibilities, isn't it? As we begin to experiment with the mods and the possibilities that are starting to develop in CS2 now. Quite exciting. So love seeing that. Lots of fence work around here too, of course. And then further afield, the storage isn't working. We do have a surplus of timber in the city. I say 137 tons of it, but I cannot get it to store for the life of me. I've even deactivated the ports, and they still export, by the way. I don't know if that's a known bug. But yeah, super annoying. So we have just done some prop work here. I don't have the time to stack all these up. I'll be doing this literally forever. So we'll wait until Move It has a copy paste function, and then we can come in here and actually kind of stack these up. And hopefully eventually once the production economy kicks in for however long we are left in Egginburgh these days, maybe it will actually start to stock up here. But these should store. Maybe it's because they're plopped or a bug, probably a combination of the things, but for that reason, we will just have to pretend it's very empty storage in a minute with some light storage going on. And then over in the corner here, we do just have some more of that texture work with stored plain timber ready for export and transportation, with more processing facility over here as well. With plenty of prop work and just a bit of appreciation for CS2's vanilla props. They're super high quality, like with the textures now. Just so enticing, I think, to start a new game. I think we'll kind of wait for the next major update, I think, once things stabilize so we don't lose a brand new city. But possibilities now really starting to become apparent, aren't they? Really nice, fun prop build for this forestry park. And then those plantations head further up. There's also another more wild one over here too, which we can see being harvested. That's if it gets some horrendous graphical glitching. There's still a long way to go. Like, as good as the mods are, like, you can see this graphic here. As good as the mods are, it's still kind of served on a bit of a shit sandwich, so hopefully CS2 is going to improve with updates. And then over here as well, we had some more texture work. And I did plant these in as young trees, and they are starting to grow up now as well, which is quite nice. With the eventual idea that they're then kind of moved up onto the hillside here, as ready for harvesting. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy with the build. It does boast pretty tremendous views right across Egginburgh. But otherwise, guys, that will do it for today. I'd like to thank you all so much indeed for watching. Thank you for all the support on CS1 and 2 and Motherboards on the channel. Glad you're all enjoying the content these days. There's a ton of it to watch. Massive shout out to all the patrons supporting the channel. If you do want to get involved in that, there's links down to Instant Gaming and Patreon below, which are the best ways to support the channel and get a little bit more egg in your life. Otherwise, I hope you're enjoying seeing the mods starting to come into fruition now in CS2. The possibilities are starting to be kind of explored a little bit. As I mentioned, the base platform that everything sits on does need a lot of work, so hopefully those updates that CO promised us aren't too far away now. Otherwise, please do enjoy some relatively cute cinematics today, especially with the grander view of Edinburgh to be enjoyed. Otherwise, let's thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.